The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint aroma of fresh coffee from the cafe on the corner. Inside, the small breakfast spot was already buzzing with the first wave of customers. The tables were a mix of business people in suits, students with laptops, and a few early risers enjoying a quiet cup before the city fully woke up. Emily, a young waitress with a warm smile and a determined spirit, hurried through the cafe doors, her apron slightly askew and a bag slung over her shoulder. She glanced at her watch and realized she was already a few minutes late. She had been waiting for the bus, and of course it had been running behind schedule. Her stomach sank. She knew that being late could cause problems, but she tried to keep her nerves calm as she stepped behind the counter. Emily had worked at the cafe for nearly a year. She loved her job, not for the money, but for the small joys it brought her each day. The friendly banter with regular customers, the satisfaction of a well-prepared order, and the feeling that she was contributing to someone's morning happiness. This morning, however, her mind was preoccupied with the fact that she had been late. She hurriedly tied her apron, washed her hands, and tried to get into her rhythm as orders started piling up. At a table near the window, a man in a tailored suit sipped his coffee while reviewing documents on a tablet. He exuded authority, and it was easy to tell from his demeanor and the attention of those around him that he was used to being in charge. This was the CEO of a well-known tech company, a man whose reputation for strictness and perfection preceded him. He looked up just in time to see Emily rushing to her station, slightly flustered. His eyes narrowed as he noticed the few minutes she was late. The cafe was quiet enough that the CEO's voice carried when he called out, "Hey, are you late?" His tone was sharp, commanding, and it immediately drew the attention of several nearby customers. Emily froze for a moment, surprised and embarrassed. She had been expecting perhaps a brief word from her manager, but not this sudden confrontation in front of everyone. "I am sorry," she stammered, her voice barely audible. "The bus was delayed. I didn't mean to." But he cut her off, his gaze stern. "I don't care about your excuses. Being late is unacceptable." The words hit harder than she expected. Emily's cheeks burned as she looked down at the floor, wishing she could shrink into it and disappear. The cafe, once a place she felt comfortable in, suddenly felt too big and full of eyes judging her. The manager of the cafe, noticing the tension, tried to intervene. "It's just a few minutes. Maybe we can." "No," the CEO interrupted, his tone leaving no room for discussion. "This is a matter of professionalism. If you cannot respect the time and the responsibilities of your position, then perhaps this is not the place for you." Emily's heart sank. She had never faced anything like this. She had worked hard, never missing a shift without notice, always doing her best to serve the customers with a smile. And now, despite all her effort, she was being judged and dismissed in front of strangers. She opened her mouth to explain, to tell him that this was a misunderstanding, but the words stuck in her throat. The fear and embarrassment were overwhelming. The CEO's eyes scanned the cafe, as if to ensure everyone had witnessed his decision. Emily could feel the weight of the gaze, the silent judgment that made her want to vanish. She quickly gathered her apron and bag, moving toward the exit without a word. Her hands trembled slightly, and she avoided looking at anyone, not wanting to see the pity or curiosity in their eyes. She pushed the door open and stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the cold morning air, trying to steady herself. For a moment, she just stood there, feeling a mix of shock, anger, and disappointment. How could someone treat her like this, judging her so harshly without even understanding the situation? She had always believed in treating people with respect, no matter the circumstances. And now, she felt the sting of unfairness in a very public way. Her mind raced, replaying the moment over and over, wondering what she could have said or done differently. Inside the cafe, the atmosphere was tense. Customers whispered among themselves, glancing at the CEO and then at Emily, unsure of what had just transpired. The manager, feeling helpless, returned to his station, quietly trying to reassure the remaining staff that everything would be okay. Emily, outside, leaned against the wall of the building, her mind still spinning. She couldn't believe how quickly her morning had taken such a turn. She had started the day expecting a routine shift, a few friendly conversations with regulars, and now she felt humiliated and defeated. After a few moments, Emily straightened up, determined not to let the incident define her. She reminded herself that she had skills, experience, and a work ethic that could not be diminished by one unfair encounter. She resolved to focus on her next steps, whether that meant returning to the cafe after cooling down or finding a new opportunity where her efforts would be appreciated. Meanwhile, the CEO returned to his breakfast, seemingly satisfied with his decision. Yet, as he sipped his coffee, there was a flicker of something he did not expect, a sense of unease. He had acted quickly, letting his judgment guide his actions without knowing the full story. And though he didn't realize it yet, this morning's event was only the beginning of a series of moments that would force him to confront his assumptions and recognize the value of a person he had underestimated. Emily walked down the street, taking in the sights and sounds of the city, trying to shake off the sting of humiliation. She thought about the customers she had served over the years, the friends she had made, and the small victories that had made her job meaningful. She reminded herself that her worth was not determined by one person's snap judgment. She took a deep breath and made a quiet promise to herself. She would rise above this moment, and she would not let anyone define her value. As the morning moved on, both Emily and the CEO continued with their day, each unaware of the twist of fate that was about to bring them back together. For Emily, it was a lesson in resilience, a reminder that life could throw unexpected challenges, but strength came from perseverance and self-belief. For the CEO, it was the beginning of a moment that would challenge his perception of people, teaching him that first impressions could be misleading and that sometimes talent and value were hidden in places he least expected. Emily walked down the quiet streets after leaving the cafe, her steps slow at first, weighed down by the morning's embarrassment. She had tried to collect herself outside the building, but the words of the CEO still echoed in her mind. How could someone judge her so quickly, without understanding the situation? She sighed, shaking her head, trying to clear the thoughts, but they clung to her like a shadow. She decided to stop by the small park nearby. It was one of her favorite spots in the city, a place where she often went to think and regroup before heading to work or continuing her day. She found a bench under a large oak tree and sat down, taking deep breaths. The cool breeze brushed against her face, carrying the scent of the city mixed with faint traces of coffee and baked goods from nearby cafes. For a moment, she closed her eyes and allowed herself to just be, to let the tension of the morning slowly melt away. While she was sitting there, she reached into her bag and felt something familiar. It was her employee badge from a corporate internship she had done a few years ago. She had used it every day at the office, and it held memories of long hours, late nights, and moments of pride when her efforts had been recognized. She had forgotten about it until now, and holding it reminded her of her abilities, her intelligence, and her dedication. Despite the rough start to her morning, she felt a spark of hope, a reminder that she was capable and valued, even if this one event made her doubt herself. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, the CEO finished his breakfast and returned to his office, still feeling justified in his actions. He believed he had maintained order and enforced professionalism, but as the day went on, he couldn't shake a strange sense of unease. Something about the incident didn't sit right with him. He had acted quickly, letting his frustration and expectations dictate his response, but there was a nagging feeling in the back of his mind that he had made a mistake. Yet he dismissed it, assuming it was just the natural discomfort of confrontation. Hours passed, and Emily decided it was time to return to the cafe, even if just to gather her things and say a quiet goodbye to her coworkers. She approached the door, her heart still heavy but her steps determined. She pushed the door open and walked in, careful not to draw attention to herself. The cafe was calmer now, the morning rush having faded, and a few customers sat quietly, enjoying their late breakfasts. Her manager spotted her and gave her a small, encouraging nod. She smiled faintly in return and made her way to the back where her apron had been left. As she bent down to pick up her apron, she noticed a small lost and found tray near the counter. She reached in and found her old corporate badge tucked neatly inside. She picked it up, brushing off a thin layer of dust, and smiled softly. Memories came flooding back. Her first successful presentation, the praise from her supervisor, the late nights spent perfecting her work. Holding the badge reminded her of her potential, her resilience, and the fact that she had achieved meaningful things before, and she could do so again. What Emily didn't notice was that the CEO had returned to the cafe for a late meeting with a client. His eyes wandered as he waited, and when they landed on the small badge in her hands, his entire demeanor changed. He froze, staring at the name and face on the badge with disbelief. Recognition dawned slowly, like a light turning on in a dark room. He knew that name. He knew that face. He had worked with this person before, in a critical project that had helped his company succeed. The realization hit him hard. He had just dismissed someone whose talent and intelligence he had once admired and depended upon. Emily, unaware of the reaction she had caused, carefully returned her badge to her bag. She straightened her apron and prepared to leave the cafe again. She paused for a moment, glancing around at the quiet room and the few familiar faces of her coworkers. The shame from the morning was still there, but the reminder of her abilities gave her strength. She took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next, and stepped toward the door. The CEO remained seated, stunned and unable to speak. He replayed the morning scene in his mind, now with a new perspective. The public dismissal, the harsh words, the embarrassment she must have felt. It all came rushing back, and with it, a wave of regret. He realized that he had acted on impulse, letting frustration guide his actions instead of taking a moment to understand the full story. He felt a pang of guilt for the way he had treated her, and a deep curiosity about how someone with such talent had ended up in the position he had just scolded. Emily stepped outside and took a few moments to gather her thoughts. She thought about the morning, about the unfair treatment, and about her badge, which now seemed like a symbol of her potential and a reminder of her past accomplishments. She reminded herself that one person's opinion did not define her, and that she had the power to move forward, to prove her worth in ways that mattered. She walked through the streets with a quiet determination, her mind racing with possibilities, but also grounded in the knowledge that she had handled the situation with dignity and grace. Meanwhile, the CEO made a decision. He would find a way to speak with her again, to understand her story, and perhaps even to make amends. The recognition of her talent and his previous admiration for her work had created a sense of urgency, a realization that he had almost made a serious mistake. He knew that opportunities to connect with brilliant minds like hers were rare, and he was determined not to let this chance slip away. As the day moved on, Emily returned home for a brief rest, reflecting on the morning and the unexpected twist that had come from her old badge. She felt a mixture of emotions: relief that the incident was over for now, pride in her resilience, and curiosity about what the rest of the day might hold. She knew that her journey was far from over, and that this morning was just one chapter in a much larger story of growth, recognition, and unexpected opportunities. The city continued its rhythm around her, unaware of the small drama that had unfolded in the quiet cafe. Cars honked, pedestrians passed by, and the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting warm light over the buildings. Emily sat for a moment, taking it all in, appreciating the small details and the reminder that life had a way of surprising people when they least expected it. Inside the cafe, the CEO remained seated, deep in thought. He considered his actions, the lessons learned, and the possibility of reconnecting with someone whose talent he had once valued. The recognition of Emily's abilities had sparked something in him, a desire to correct his mistake and to ensure that he did not let this encounter end with regret. He made a mental note to find her, to speak with her, and perhaps even to offer an opportunity that matched her true potential. By the late afternoon, both Emily and the CEO were moving toward a convergence neither could fully anticipate. Emily, filled with a renewed sense of confidence and determination, and the CEO, wrestling with his own realizations and plans, were unknowingly preparing for a meeting that would change the course of both their days. The morning's tension, embarrassment, and uncertainty had set the stage for something remarkable, and both of them were on the path toward discovery, understanding, and unexpected connection. The afternoon sun cast long shadows over the city streets as Emily made her way through the crowded sidewalks. Her mind was still replaying the morning's events, but now a spark of determination had replaced the heavy cloud of embarrassment she had felt earlier. She reminded herself that she had skills, experience, and the resilience to move forward, no matter how harsh the morning had been. Holding on to that thought, she focused on small, practical steps for the rest of her day, walking with a quiet sense of purpose. As she passed by the cafe again, she noticed the CEO still seated inside. He had not left, which surprised her slightly. She considered walking in, but hesitated, unsure of what to expect. She wondered if he might call her over or if the moment had already passed. Despite the uncertainty, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. Something about his reaction to her badge earlier hinted that he had recognized her past work. She hadn't yet realized the full impact of that small item, but a part of her sensed that it might open unexpected doors. Inside the cafe, the CEO was struggling to concentrate on the meeting he had scheduled. His thoughts kept drifting back to the morning incident, to the small badge she had found, and to the realization that he had just dismissed someone of remarkable talent. He felt a pang of regret and a strong desire to correct his mistake. He kept replaying the details in his mind, trying to understand how he had not recognized her immediately and how quickly he had let his frustration dictate his actions. There was a growing sense that this was not just about a few minutes of tardiness. It was about recognizing and valuing talent when it mattered most. Finally, after some internal debate, the CEO decided he had to speak with her. He excused himself from his meeting, leaving instructions for his assistant to continue in his place. He stood, straightened his jacket, and walked toward the door with determination. Each step carried a mix of nervousness and purpose. He knew he had to approach her carefully, to acknowledge his mistake and hopefully make amends in a way that respected her dignity and her accomplishments. Emily, noticing movement from the corner of her eye, looked up just as the CEO approached. She instinctively straightened, unsure of his intentions. Her heart raced slightly, a mix of curiosity and apprehension. She had no idea what he wanted, but something in his posture suggested that this encounter might be different from the morning confrontation. There was a change in his expression, a softness that had not been there before, and it gave her a small sense of hope. The CEO stopped a few feet away and spoke with a tone that was firm but no longer harsh. "I need to apologize," he began. "This morning, I acted too quickly and without understanding the full situation. That was wrong, and I want to make it right." Emily was taken aback. She had not expected an apology, let alone an acknowledgement of his mistake. She studied him carefully, noting the sincerity in his eyes. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I appreciate that." He nodded, then gestured toward a quiet corner of the cafe. "Can we sit for a moment? I'd like to understand more about your story and your experiences." Emily hesitated for only a moment before agreeing, feeling a mix of curiosity and cautious optimism. They found a small table away from other customers, the hum of conversation around them providing a soft backdrop to their discussion. As they sat down, the CEO asked about her background, her past work, and the experiences that had shaped her. Emily spoke about her previous internship, the projects she had contributed to, and the lessons she had learned. She shared her successes and her struggles, painting a picture of someone who had worked hard, faced challenges, and persevered. She spoke with honesty, her words filled with a quiet confidence that spoke more than just her achievements. They revealed her character, her determination, and her resilience. The CEO listened intently, occasionally nodding, absorbing every detail. He was struck by her humility, her clarity of thought, and the depth of her experience. Memories from years ago returned, the moments when she had been a rising star in his company, the innovative ideas she had brought forward, and the way she had approached problems with creativity and diligence. He realized that he had underestimated her, that his morning judgment had been clouded by assumptions rather than knowledge. Emily noticed the subtle changes in his demeanor as the conversation continued. The sternness from the morning had been replaced by genuine interest and respect. She felt a growing sense of relief and even a cautious excitement. It was as if a door she had thought was closed had been nudged open again, offering the possibility of new opportunities and recognition. The tension of the morning slowly dissolved, replaced by an awareness that this encounter could be the start of something meaningful. They talked for nearly an hour, sharing stories, experiences, and insights. Emily described her aspirations, her skills, and her dedication, while the CEO reflected on his own experiences, acknowledging where he had been wrong and where he had learned lessons the hard way. The conversation was honest, human, and engaging. It was not just about correcting a mistake. It was about understanding, respect, and the potential for growth on both sides. Finally, the CEO leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I need to be honest," he said. "Seeing your badge this morning reminded me of the contributions you made in the past. I acted without remembering the value you bring. That was unfair to you, and I want to offer a chance to work together again, in a role that matches your talents and expertise." Emily felt a mix of surprise and cautious optimism. She had never expected this, and yet the sincerity in his words was clear. She considered her own aspirations, the desire to apply her skills in meaningful ways, and the opportunity that was being presented to her. After a moment of reflection, she spoke. "I appreciate your honesty, and I'm open to discussing what that opportunity might look like." The CEO smiled, relieved and encouraged by her response. They continued to talk, exploring possibilities, discussing expectations, and envisioning ways her skills could contribute to new projects. The dialogue was collaborative, filled with mutual respect and a recognition of potential. It was a conversation that honored past achievements, acknowledged mistakes, and looked forward to future growth. As the afternoon faded into evening, the cafe began to quiet down. The sun dipped lower, casting warm hues across the windows. Emily and the CEO rose from the table, both feeling a sense of closure for the morning incident and anticipation for what was to come. They had turned a moment of tension and misunderstanding into an opportunity for connection and growth. Emily left the cafe with a renewed sense of purpose. She felt empowered, recognized, and optimistic about the next steps in her journey. She knew that this encounter had the potential to change the course of her career and her life in meaningful ways. For the CEO, the afternoon had been a lesson in humility, awareness, and the importance of valuing people for their talents and character, not just their immediate behavior. As they went their separate ways, both carried a sense of hope and possibility. The morning's events, once a source of embarrassment and tension, had transformed into a turning point, a moment that would shape their interactions, decisions, and growth in the days and months to come. The city around them moved on, unaware of the quiet, human drama that had unfolded, but for Emily and the CEO, the afternoon had been a reminder that understanding, recognition, and second chances could turn even the most challenging moments into opportunities for connection, respect, and success. Emily's days following the afternoon conversation with the CEO were filled with a mix of anticipation and cautious excitement. She returned to the cafe, not as someone who had been dismissed unfairly, but as someone who carried a renewed sense of confidence and potential. Each step she took into the familiar space was a reminder of her resilience, of the ability to keep moving forward even when life presented unexpected challenges. The CEO had reached out promptly after their meeting, arranging for a private discussion about possible opportunities that matched her skills and experience. Emily found herself preparing for the meeting with a mixture of curiosity and nervousness. She had no idea what role he might offer, but she trusted the sincerity she had seen in his eyes and the respect he had shown during their earlier conversation. When she arrived at the CEO's office, she was greeted warmly by his assistant and guided into a meeting room filled with natural light. The CEO was already there, standing and extending his hand. There was no tension, no hint of the morning's confrontation, only a genuine sense of purpose and collaboration. Emily felt a wave of relief as she shook his hand, realizing that this encounter was about possibilities rather than judgment. They began by discussing her previous experiences, the projects she had contributed to, and the skills she had developed over the years. Emily spoke with clarity and confidence, articulating her ideas and aspirations. She shared examples of challenges she had faced and the solutions she had implemented, demonstrating a combination of creativity, intelligence, and practical problem-solving abilities. The CEO listened attentively, occasionally nodding, clearly impressed by her thoughtful approach and depth of knowledge. As the conversation progressed, the CEO outlined potential roles that could leverage her skills and make a significant impact on ongoing projects. He emphasized the importance of collaboration, innovation, and leadership, noting that the company was looking for individuals who could bring fresh perspectives and drive meaningful results. Emily's eyes widened slightly as she considered the possibilities. This was not just a job. It was an opportunity to apply her talents in a meaningful way, to contribute to projects that mattered, and to be recognized for her abilities. The CEO paused, studying her reaction carefully. "I want you to know," he said, "that I made a mistake in how I treated you this morning. I judged too quickly and did not consider the value you bring. That was unfair, and I hope you can see that my intention now is to create an opportunity that truly reflects your skills and potential." Emily felt a mixture of relief and pride. The acknowledgement of the past, combined with the presentation of new opportunities, gave her a sense of validation she had not realized she was seeking. She smiled, her confidence growing. "Thank you," she replied. "I appreciate your honesty and the chance to discuss this. I'm excited about what we can achieve together." The CEO smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction and anticipation. He recognized that talent like Emily's was rare, and he was committed to ensuring that her contributions would be valued and impactful. They spent the next several hours discussing potential projects, strategies, and collaborative opportunities. Each idea was met with thoughtful consideration and constructive dialogue, creating an environment of mutual respect and shared purpose. As the afternoon wore on, Emily began to envision herself in this new role. She imagined leading projects, contributing innovative solutions, and collaborating with a team that valued her insights. The fear and embarrassment of the morning seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a sense of possibility and empowerment. She realized that her perseverance, combined with her skills and experience, had brought her to a moment where her abilities could be fully recognized and appreciated. The CEO, observing her engagement and enthusiasm, felt a growing sense of confidence in the decision to bring her back into a meaningful role. He reflected on the morning's events and the quick judgment he had made, realizing that this experience had taught him an important lesson about recognizing talent and understanding people beyond first impressions. He appreciated the resilience and professionalism Emily had demonstrated, and he was eager to support her in achieving success. By the end of the meeting, they had agreed on a plan for Emily to take on a leadership role in an upcoming project, with responsibilities that aligned with her strengths and interests. The CEO emphasized that he would provide support, guidance, and resources to ensure her success, but he also trusted her judgment and expertise. Emily left the office feeling a sense of accomplishment, excitement, and motivation. She knew that this was not just a new job. It was a platform to grow, contribute, and be recognized for her talents. Back at the cafe, Emily's colleagues noticed a change in her demeanor. She walked with confidence, greeted customers with genuine warmth, and shared her experiences in a way that inspired others. The story of the morning's confrontation had already spread among the staff, but now it was coupled with the news of her upcoming opportunity. Her journey became a source of inspiration, demonstrating that resilience, professionalism, and skill could overcome misunderstandings and unfair judgments. The CEO, too, reflected on the transformation that had occurred. He recognized that his actions had provided an unexpected lesson for both of them. Emily had shown the ability to rise above a challenging situation, and he had learned the importance of patience, understanding, and valuing people's contributions. Their interaction had evolved from conflict to collaboration, creating a foundation for mutual respect and success. In the following days, Emily prepared for her new role, balancing her responsibilities at the cafe with the anticipation of joining the project team. She spent time reviewing materials, reflecting on her experiences, and thinking creatively about how she could contribute. Her determination and focus were fueled by the recognition of her skills and the opportunity to apply them in meaningful ways. The CEO monitored the progress quietly, confident that Emily's talents would shine. He coordinated with his team to ensure a smooth transition, providing support while allowing her to take initiative. Their collaboration was marked by open communication, shared goals, and a mutual appreciation for each other's strengths. The initial tension of the morning had transformed into a productive and positive dynamic, demonstrating the power of second chances and the value of recognizing true talent. As Emily stepped into her new role, she carried with her the lessons of the past, the resilience that had helped her navigate the morning's challenges, and the confidence that comes from being trusted and valued. The cafe, once a place of embarrassment, became a reminder of her growth and determination. The CEO, watching her progress, felt a renewed sense of respect and admiration, realizing that talent, when nurtured and recognized, could lead to remarkable outcomes. Through this experience, both Emily and the CEO learned valuable lessons about human nature, judgment, and the importance of opportunity. The morning's conflict had evolved into a story of redemption, growth, and collaboration. Emily's journey from embarrassment to empowerment illustrated the impact of resilience, professionalism, and skill, while the CEO's willingness to acknowledge his mistake and create an opportunity demonstrated the importance of humility, understanding, and recognizing potential. By the end of Part 4, Emily had not only secured a role that aligned with her abilities, but had also transformed her relationship with the CEO from one of tension to mutual respect. The story highlighted the power of second chances, the value of perseverance, and the potential for positive outcomes when people are given the opportunity to shine, even after an initial setback. Emily stepped into the office on her first official day in the new role with a mix of excitement and focus. She had spent the previous days preparing herself mentally and practically, reviewing notes, organizing her ideas, and envisioning the contributions she wanted to make. The cafe incident felt like a distant memory now, replaced by a determination to perform, learn, and grow in her new position. She knew this was more than a job. It was an opportunity to apply her skills where they could truly make a difference. Her first interactions with the team were warm and welcoming. The CEO had made it clear that Emily's expertise and perspective were highly valued, and the staff responded positively, curious to learn from someone with her experience. Emily felt a sense of belonging, something she had missed in recent years when her talents were overlooked or undervalued. She approached her new tasks with careful thought and a willingness to collaborate, ensuring that every idea she presented was grounded in practicality and informed by her past experiences. Throughout the first few weeks, Emily began to make her mark. Her analytical skills and creative problem-solving quickly caught the attention of both the CEO and her colleagues. She approached challenges with a calm, methodical mindset, listening to others while offering solutions that balanced innovation with feasibility. Slowly but surely, she gained a reputation as someone dependable, insightful, and capable of handling complex tasks with grace. Each successful project reinforced her confidence and highlighted her value to the company. The CEO, observing Emily's progress, felt a growing sense of pride and satisfaction. He reflected on the morning when he had dismissed her in the cafe, realizing how narrowly he had missed recognizing the potential she possessed. The initial mistake had been a humbling experience, but it had also provided an opportunity to correct his judgment and foster talent in a meaningful way. He had learned that true leadership required patience, awareness, and the ability to see beyond immediate impressions. Emily, meanwhile, never forgot the lessons from the cafe incident. She had learned the importance of resilience, maintaining professionalism under pressure, and staying focused on her long-term goals. The experience had strengthened her, making her more aware of her own abilities and the value of recognizing opportunity when it appeared. Her colleagues admired her not just for her skill, but for her calm and respectful approach to challenges, and she quickly became a role model within the team. One day, during a high-stakes project presentation, Emily's ideas played a critical role in guiding the team toward a solution. Her suggestions were practical yet innovative, addressing potential risks and maximizing efficiency. The CEO watched from the back of the room, impressed by her clarity and foresight. He realized that dismissing her earlier in the cafe had been a mistake he would not repeat, and he felt a sense of gratitude that circumstances had allowed him to recognize her talent in the right context. After the presentation, the CEO invited Emily to his office. He praised her contributions, acknowledging the impact she had made in such a short period. "You've exceeded expectations," he said sincerely. "Your work has not only helped the project succeed, but it's also reminded me of the importance of seeing people for who they truly are, beyond the first impression. I'm grateful that we had the chance to reconnect and for the perspective you bring." Emily smiled, feeling a sense of validation and pride. It was one thing to know her own abilities, but to have them recognized by someone she respected so deeply added an extra layer of affirmation. The weeks turned into months, and Emily continued to thrive. She took on more responsibility, guided new projects, and mentored colleagues who were eager to learn from her experience. Her role evolved into one of leadership, where her voice carried weight and her decisions had a tangible impact. Each success reinforced the value of perseverance, professionalism, and the willingness to seize opportunities when they arose. The cafe incident gradually became a story within the company, shared among employees as an example of resilience and second chances. Emily's journey from being publicly dismissed to leading high-impact projects served as a reminder that talent and dedication often shine brightest when challenges are overcome. Her colleagues respected her not only for her work, but also for her humility, patience, and ability to rise above setbacks. For the CEO, the experience remained a powerful lesson in leadership and human nature. He understood the dangers of snap judgments and the importance of looking deeper, of recognizing potential beyond surface behavior. Emily's success reaffirmed the value of second chances and highlighted the impact of investing in people who had the talent and determination to excel when given the right opportunity. As Emily settled into her new routine, she often reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The humiliation she had felt that morning in the cafe now felt like a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. She had learned to trust herself, to remain professional under pressure, and to recognize the value of her own contributions. These lessons, combined with her innate talent and resilience, had led her to a place of recognition and achievement that she had not imagined when the day began with disappointment. Months later, Emily had become an integral part of the company's leadership team. Her work influenced key decisions, her ideas shaped projects, and her presence inspired others to strive for excellence. She had turned a moment of public embarrassment into a catalyst for growth, proving that setbacks could be transformed into opportunities with the right mindset, determination, and support. The CEO, observing her continued success, often thought back to that morning in the cafe. It had been a moment of mistake and misjudgment, but it had also opened the door to a meaningful professional relationship and remarkable achievements. He realized that leadership was as much about recognizing potential and offering guidance as it was about making tough decisions. Emily's journey illustrated the power of resilience, talent, and second chances, and he felt fortunate to have had the opportunity to witness it firsthand. The story of Emily and the CEO became more than just a personal triumph. It became a lesson for the company as a whole. It reminded everyone that talent could be found in unexpected places, that first impressions were not always reliable, and that perseverance and professionalism could turn adversity into achievement. Emily's example inspired colleagues to support one another, to seek understanding, and to approach challenges with respect and patience. As the company continued to grow and evolve, Emily remained a central figure, respected for her contributions, admired for her resilience, and valued for her leadership. The morning in the cafe, once a source of embarrassment, had become a defining moment, a story of transformation, opportunity, and recognition. It showed that even in difficult situations, grace, talent, and perseverance could lead to remarkable outcomes. In the end, Emily's journey was a testament to the human spirit, the importance of second chances, and the lasting impact of recognizing true talent. From being dismissed unfairly to thriving in a leadership role, she had proven that challenges could be overcome, that growth was possible, and that respect and recognition often come when patience, dedication, and resilience are combined. Both she and the CEO had learned invaluable lessons, and together, they had created a story of triumph that would be remembered and celebrated for years to come.